Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Relix, and today we're going to discuss the 6th episode of My Hero Academia for Season 7, called Division. If you guys have watched my previous videos, obviously this is a review of the entire episode, spoilers included. So if you guys have not watched the episode, please do not watch this and complain about it later. I always say, go watch the episode. It is exciting as heck, and this is another great episode for sure. As from the last episode, we were expecting this episode to really ramp up the action as well as like just the overall plot and everything. So it was a really good episode. Go watch it, and yeah, that was your spoiler warning. As far as getting to the episode, I also wanted to say that I wanted to start with the hero of the episode at the very beginning. I'm gonna have him up, or whoever it is, he or she. We're gonna have him up at the start of the episode because apparently, I guess, people aren't sticking around. They're not seeing anything on the screen. They're just seeing me, a guy, talking. So obviously, I'm gonna have some stuff up to show that. Okay, we are going to discuss about characters, and there's a reason why this person here is the hero of the episode. So there you go. Here's our hero. It is Phantom Thief. If you guys also watched the last episode, you guys remember that All For One was shocked. He was surprised at the end of the episode because Kurogiri's Warp Gate quirk was being used to summon all of the heroes to the battlefield. And it is because of Monoma, Phantom Thief here. He copied it. He copied Kurogiri's quirk, which allowed him to use Warp Gate and transfer all the heroes from around Japan to that one location. So that is one of the biggest feats of the entire episode. Clearly, there was a lot of heroes and villains battling it out and were involved. But as far as the episode goes, obviously, I think it definitely surrounded itself around Phantom Thief and how his quirk is allowing the heroes to make their counterattack versus the villains. And so, for sure, I think he deserves it. Obviously, let's get into the episode, so we don't waste time. And I will explain as we go why he also deserves to be the hero of the episode. So, obviously, the episode starts off with, where we left off before. It actually does a flashback where we have the Class 1A, it says a few days ago, as you guys can see on the subtitle, discussing the plan when All Might went to go and see them. And they also discussed how it's going to work, as well as who's going to be involved. Obviously, you can see here on the bottom picture, all the students are going to be involved. I think that's pretty cool to say. That's what we want to see, right? They're no longer just students, as we were seeing from the past couple episodes. They are now becoming pro heroes, and their development as actual hero characters, not just kids, is starting to really show. And I think going forward, we're definitely going to see more of that. One of the biggest things going forward into that conversation was the relief on everyone's faces that Aoyama has been cleared, and he is for sure going to be working with them on this next operation against the villains. And so he is not, I don't know if he's necessarily cleared of his crimes per se, but as far as assisting the heroes, he is definitely in. Obviously, we got the gist of that because of the way he was reacting a couple more episodes ago. So for sure, it was a good relief for the students themselves that they can see that their friend has decided to team up with them and work with them on this plan. So obviously, these faces are basically, relief. They're happy. They're cheering. You can see Mina is all sad. It's she's crying that she's very thankful that he decided to come around and help them. And of course, everyone's happy about that. That also brings us to the next part of the plan discussion part, which basically, how is this going to work? How is Aoyama going to fit in? And if you guys remember from the last episode, Aoyama was able to draw out All For One somehow, right? And at the end of the episode, All For One was like, how did this happen? How did they trick me, deceive me? because he has the ability to detect whether or not the Aoyama family was lying or not through the phone conversation. And he says that there was no deception. They were clean as day. Like, there's no way they could have deceived him. And that brings us to our second hero of the episode. The reason why I'm calling this the second hero of the episode is because Shinso was actually shown at the end of episode 2? I think it was episode 2, right? He was shown at the end of episode 2, being called to duty. And basically, he went and is now part of this plan. He is now basically a full-fledged hero at this point. He is going to be taking part, as for sure, part of this battle. And he was the one who actually deceived All For One. So, while, 2 episodes ago, I gave Aoyama the hero of the episode, it was actually not Aoyama who did it. It was actually Shinso. He was the one who brainwashed the Aoyama family, and he because he's not, the actual person, he was able to tell them to what to say and do to deceive All For One. Maybe it might be a little bit convenient just because the fact that he can't tell them what to do or say before. But then in this episode, he says that he's been training his quirk so he can. So it might have been just a tiny bit plot convenient wise, but at the same time, it does make sense. It does add up. And again, just like all the other students too, they are developing their quirks as time goes on. Therefore, it's understandable that Shinso can also get his quirk to get stronger and do more things as well. And so that's how the Aoyama family was able to deceive All For One and bring them out of hiding and basically work together with the heroes. So yeah, he basically brainwashed all 3 during the phone conversations and made them fool All For One. So that was pretty amazing. I think that's a great way to reintroduce certain characters, such as Shinso, who has not gotten much screen time, but whenever he does appear on screen, he appears as a cool character. He's someone that, is starting to get more recognition, and I think that's awesome. As I mentioned in the last episode, I definitely wanted to see more of, the other students at UA, including Class 1B, which we also get to see. I will explain later. So, going into, the plan even more, it's not just Shinso who had to, fall in line with the plan and brainwash the Aoyama family. As we said in the very beginning, the hero of the episode is Phantom Thief. So, Naito Monoma, he has the ability to copy other quirks, right? And the more I think the more he copies, the weaker it is. But in any case, so he basically copied Kurogiri's quirk, and this is a scene showing him when he first was asked to do it, and I think he had like a few days to do it, like literally 3 days, I think, to study the quirk, see how it works, and perfect it. And basically, the pro heroes were asking, if this plan's going to work, he has to be perfect. He has to be the one to bring every single person together. Obviously, that's a lot of pressure, especially for a kid. Based on age-wise, he is around 16, 17 years old, just like all the other students at UA. So, again, it's a lot of pressure on someone who's so young and someone who isn't necessarily, ready to be a hero. Because Class 1B has never really demonstrated the capabilities of being pro heroes. We haven't really seen them in action. So, to suddenly ask one of those classmates to be a pro hero just right off the bat and do all this, hero work is kind of a big shock. So Monoma also he also pondered in his mind, like he wanted this. He kind of wants this opportunity because he heard what happened to Aizawa Sensei and how he lost his eye, and so his quirk is very weak right now because he only has one eye. Not to mention he had to cut off his own leg so that he can keep his quirk because he got shot with the anti-quirk bullet during the war. And so, he's basically thinking to himself, can I really be that brave? Can I be that, a part of the heroes on the field? And, I think that's kind of touching because just like Aoyama, it's hard to think that you can be just as good as the pro heroes and be as brave and go against the villains, especially for the task that he's being asked for, right? So I thought it was a little heartfelt moment. Even I felt like, just a little bit teary, like, that's a lot of pressure and an opportunity to show that you can be a hero, considering that he himself has always been thought of as a support hero. His quirk only copies quirks, right? So unless he comes up with the right opportunities, and I do think it has a time limit or something like that, you can't use the quirk over and over again. Therefore, he's not like going to be most reliable, I guess you can say. And that's kind of what his pondering has been, getting him at. Is basically he doesn't know if he could have been a pro hero because no one else thought he could. Everyone thought he could just be a support hero. That's when Vlad King, his sensei, and Aizawa sensei were basically telling him that he can be a pro hero too. He can do it. And they believe in him. And I think that also goes to show that the pro heroes, all the adults, are starting to believe in their students a lot more. And it is required to, go forward. Oh, I actually forgot. I'm gonna leave Shinso's picture up. I actually didn't actually close that. I'm going to leave his picture up because he is the second hero of the episode for sure. Needs a little recognition, so I'm going to leave that up. Going forward, though, Brainwash success. Very nice. I just wanted to share this picture just because it was a very nice picture of Shinso telling Aoyama when he succeeded in his part that it was a success. They succeeded. They did their job, and the brainwashing was perfect. So that was a nice moment. So, after realizing that he can be a hero and do this job, Phantom Thief ends up summoning the heroes to the Warp Gate, and voila. All of a sudden, as he put it, to quote, he is now pulling the strings. And that is a perfect saying because of the fact that without him, nothing's happening. This whole operation fails. And I think that's, while his personality, I will admit, I hated his personality throughout the entire anime up to this point. But after this episode, I have a different respect for him, for sure. He definitely did the job right. And regardless that he has his laughing habit, he still got it done. And was able to summon all the heroes. And so, if you guys remember from last episode, I listed a bunch of heroes in the final scene. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are heroes that are going to do battle. All right, great, perfect. It's actually larger than that. It was much, much larger than that. And you guys can clearly see here as well, there's a couple more people who weren't in the last scene as well. I also said there's some generic heroes. Well, that's fine too. But we also got more heroes shown in this episode than we saw in the last. And, for example, on the far right, we also see Burnin. She was also, she doesn't say anything in this episode, but she is there, I think, like 3 or 4 times on the screen, and I think that's pretty amazing to see. I will admit, though, when you look at this picture of the heroes and villains being summoned on both sides through the muddy, blobby summoning quirk that All For One's using versus Kurogiri's Warp Gate, yeah, this animation is probably not the best. I will admit, this is probably one of the weakest animated shots that I've seen in the entire anime. Literally, like, I was kind of laughing how funny the scene looked, just because you can see all of the generic heroes and villains just kind of running at each other. At no points during the scene, I don't think you can see any actual heroes or villains. Like, for one, you should be able to see Endeavor and Dobby because they're both using their flames, right? I don't see them. I don't know if Mountain Lady is included in this battle because I did not see her in any of the scenes from last episode or this episode. But if she is there, she should be obviously included and the biggest one there. but I get the feeling she may not be involved in this fight. Just to throw in examples, it's just kind of funny that this scene has such poor animation, for the bodies, but that's just to show that this is going to be an all-out war, and I think that's pretty cool to see that we are finally getting to the action of the season, and this is what we've been waiting for the past few. We know this was going to probably happen, and here it is. Another thing I wanted to mention is Class 1A is making their appearance as well. Just like I thought with the Pro Heroes, I was like, okay, are we going to see Class 1A involved? And yes, we didn't see it in the last episode, but going into here, yes, we do. We can see that they are all involved. They were just literally being summoned one by one through the warp gate, and all the heroes were being summoned, all the villains were being summoned. This is all out war. So I thought that was pretty amazing. I mean, even the weakest heroes are there. So I think this is awesome to see that the students are going to be partaking. And again, we will see, who's going to get hurt, who's going to get killed, who's going to be a hero, stuff like that. I want to see all that happening. And after reading some of the comments in the comments section of the episode, I think other people agree as well that we will see some deaths, not because they know, because they read the manga ahead, but because it's got to have deaths. This is all-out war. There's got to be unfortunate circumstances, and unfortunately these people should die and will die. So hopefully we get to see that. Not to say I want specific characters to die. Obviously I don't want to see anyone die, but it just has to happen to make the anime better. So the heroes plot a trap. They have these, I don't know what these are necessarily called. I don't think it was actually mentioned in the episode, but they basically came out of the ground. They trapped the villains inside. You can see on the very top of the screen, not all the villains were trapped inside, but majority of them were trapped inside these boxes, including All For One, Shigaraki, Toga. They were all trapped inside these boxes, and so this wasn't necessarily there to keep them 100%, trapped. Obviously, that's just not going to happen, right? But it was because of the fact that they wanted to separate the villains and, go with the plan that they discussed in the previous couple episodes. The fact that if they can specifically separate Dabi, Shigaraki, and All For One from each other, that should make the battles much easier, if not more of a success, because the whole point is to take out All For One and Shigaraki if they can. So by doing this, by trapping them inside these containers, they were able to push them through warp gates and teleport them to other locations throughout the country. I thought that was actually ingenious, and it was never about trapping them entirely. It was just about giving them a few seconds to be able to teleport them away. Obviously, just like most animes, a few seconds in the anime world is literally 4 minutes in our time watching it, because they have to show multiple point of views. But I thought it was pretty cool. And you guys can see from this picture as well, some of the villains do break out of those cages. They weren't exactly built to, trap them inside. And so there is the point that some of the villains are still at this location where they started the fight, and that Fat Gum here, the hero Fat Gum, will take over as the lead hero in that location to help, suppress these villains. So just a side note about that. Something else that happened going into this was that Deku was separated from Bakugo when they're trying to push the containers into the warp gate. You guys can see from the top left picture that there is something attached to Deku's arm that is pulling him into a different warp gate. And Bakugo realizes that, and it's kind of like a funny twist of fate here, how back in the previous season, season 2, I think, was the training season where the camp got attacked, how Bakugo was kidnapped. Well, this time it's kind of like the reverse here, where instead of Bakugo being kidnapped, all of a sudden Deku's being kidnapped through the wrong warp gate, and there's nothing that Bakugo could do to stop that from happening. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought that was a nice twist on the entire, basically the same thing happening to both of them. And then we go to the monitor screen where All Might and the police are basically taking control and giving out commands and operations. You guys can see here on the screen that there are multiple locations throughout Japan that the heroes and villains were teleported, and that's where the locations are going to be taking place. So basically we got stages here. There's only a few that were shown, but here's one, for example, where All For One was separated and he was left out in the villa location where they had attacked before in the last season. And you guys can see here as well, there's some heroes that we can recognize, including students from Class 1A. So it's not just, pro heroes being involved, it's everybody. And so I think it's kind of cool that we get to see that there will be multiple battlefields, which also leads to, man, there's a lot of people we need to be keeping track of, because at this point, we still don't know exactly who is where. There's not a confirmation of who entirely is where, what teams, what sides, things like that. So I definitely think they should definitely take it by episode and focus on 1 or 2 battles maximum at a time. Obviously, I think the battle with All For One should be one of the last ones to be seen, just because he is the big bad boss, right? So he's not going to go down easily. But as this episode continues to focus, it did focus on Shigaraki. So I'll get into that a little bit later. Next stage, we see Dabi versus his brother, Todoroki. And basically, this is one of those classic fights, brother versus brother. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of the good ones, I think. Regardless, I don't think there's as many well-known heroes on this battlefield. The only 2 that we can see in the backgrounds, at least, is Ingenium and Burnin. They were the only 2 on the far right that we can recognize in this scene. Otherwise, the main focus is on the brothers' battle. But you can also see there is a high-end Nomu on the scene as well. As far as the high-end Nomu is concerned, there weren't many heroes that were able to take them on. And so that could be one of the reasons why this battle probably won't be as important, because there aren't as many people involved. Then we move on to a third stage. We can see here where Deku was kidnapped. He was taken out of his warp gate and into this warp gate to a location where obviously it does not suit him. You guys can see there's water all over the ground. You can see Gang Orca, Uraraka, Froppy, they're all there. They're all water specialists, or at least can deal with the water. Otherwise, Toga's there. She pulled Deku into this location and basically ruined their plans. We'll see how this plays out. This is obviously going to be one of the battles that they should focus on as well, to see if there's a way to get Deku back to the other location that he was supposed to be at. But as of right now, who knows how this is going to play out. Obviously we'll take it episode by episode and see what happens going forward. But there's also a high-end Nomu right there, dead center. Don't know what that one is going to do. It doesn't look like it has many special, outside appearances as far as quirks. But kind of looks like all the other ones, just big muscles and, that's that. So we'll see. The fourth and final location that we did get to see was where Deku was supposed to go, and it is here, Coffin in the Sky. This place was specifically made to trap Shigaraki Tomura, and that is where he is. He is the lone villain that was teleported here. No one else from the League of Villains was teleported here. And so we get to see, what would have happened if Deku was there. And that's basically the focus for the rest of the episode. So the Coffin heroes here, I'm going to say Coffin in the Sky. I'm just going to shorten it to the Coffin, just to help abbreviate it. You guys can see here as well. By the way, I loved how every time Mirko comes through the warp gate, she is just like smiling with, enthusiasm. She's ready to go. If you guys remember from my last episode, Mirko is my favorite hero in the entire anime, and she is ready to go. I'm glad to see her again. You guys can also see Nejire-chan is there, Sun Eater. They're all the few heroes are coming here or going down. With Deku gone though, Bakugo immediately, as soon as he comes through the warp gate, like as soon as he touches the ground, he immediately goes to the one in command of this location, Bestigenus, and he says that Deku is not there. That is like straight up pure communication to its finest, and very concerned for his friend. And that's one of the dynamics of the anime that I absolutely love, is the lack of friendship of Bakugo and Midoriya, and then how it grows over time to the point where they are basically like in a way, best friends. They got each other's backs and they care for each other. And I think that's pretty cool that Bakugo specifically, as probably my favorite character, not my favorite hero, but my favorite character, he develops from, this guy who thinks he's so good, he doesn't need help, he can do everything solo, and doesn't communicate with anybody, to, as soon as he got through the warp gate, communication. He is not in it alone. He is ready to help and do whatever he can to make things, better. And I think that's amazing to see, that as soon as he got through, he immediately told what happened, and Deku is not there. And so, regardless that Deku is not there, Mirko is like, that doesn't matter. We're going to beat this guy up. That changing plans. Oh well, let's do it. And I love that enthusiasm from her, because that is her personality, that is her fighting style, and I'm glad to see that we can see her in action again. You guys can see here a picture of Shigaraki. All of the heroes and villains were warped out of the sky, so all of them are falling at some point, some way, somehow. And Shigaraki has no excuse as well. So he's falling out of the sky, and immediately, as soon as he tries to land, he tries to use his quirk from the bottom screen you see here, and trying to decayes the ground. However, the ground itself starts lifting into the sky, and so he starts to jump up off the ground, and he hits the barrier at the top of the coffin, and it electrocutes him. Now, obviously, we know that this isn't enough to kill him because he can regenerate, right? So the whole point is to just trap him inside. He cannot escape through the sky. He cannot escape by destroying the ground, because the coffin in the sky, as I mentioned, was specifically made to counteract him. Only him. And so nothing he does will be able to allow him to escape, apparently. At least that's the thought behind it. Now, the ground is shooting up out of the ground, right? It's lifting out. So what happens if there's a hole? Well, that's the countermeasure here. And that's the whole second part of the coffin in the sky. Who's operating it? How is it flying? Things like that, right? And I loved that the episode definitely went into depth about this. It included the people behind the scenes who aren't going to be taking part in the fight, but are still doing their part. You guys can see here, the ground itself actually repairs itself. It's being repaired by other people who are inside the coffin. And here's the backbone of the coffin. In the top left, we got Creati with Lunch Rush. Obviously, Lunch Rush is there to make food. Specifically, he is the cafeteria, I guess, monitor of UA, and the students love his food. Apparently it's really good. So he is there to help make food. I guess, I forget how Creati's quirk necessarily works as far as what she needs to consume. I'm assuming calories or sugars or something like that. So he's there to give her food so she can continue to make the material used to replace the broken pieces from the ground for the coffin. We also get to see Power Loader in the top right. He is one of the guys operating the entire thing. That's probably a given. I mean, he is the most, he's the geniuses behind developing all these technologies, right? So obviously he's going to be involved. And then going down is Cementos. He's able to help reconstruct some of the ground locations that are missing their pieces as well. So we also get Hatsume Mei on the left side, as well as the development studios support staff, and they're all working together. These guys are the backbone of the coffin and how it operates, as well as how it stays, intact, so that Shigaraki cannot escape. And I think this is awesome to see, that we get to see these guys come in handy, regardless that they themselves are not like frontline heroes, but they are still earning their right to be pro heroes. And I think it's also important to note in this episode that who was it? I think it was Best of Genus, that he was the one, I think, that mentioned Hatsume Mei, a 16-year-old girl, is doing all this. She is the genius, the brain behind the entire coffin and how it operates. She was the one who created it. And I think that's pretty amazing to see, that, people think she's crazy and she doesn't really have that much talent as far as, being a hero. But even pro heroes need a support staff, and she's definitely one of those characters that ended up being that. And I think it's amazing to see that she is one of those characters that get huge recognition from the other pro heroes, that she is a genius and she can actually do this stuff to help them win. And so I just want to throw that out there, because as we saw from a couple of episodes ago, she was the brains behind everything, and she did get my hero of the episode as well. And here we are. Technically, she could also be one of those heroes of the episode. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, because other people have done more stuff this episode. But she is still there. She is still relevant. And I think going forward, I don't want to say it's going to happen, but she will definitely probably be targeted by the villains, whether that is kidnapping her and trying to use her intelligence for their own stuff, or targeting her as far as killing her. And I think that is one of the eventualities, is that she may end up killed, because she is a genius, and that is a threat to the villains. And so long as she's alive, the heroes can do a lot of things to counteract the villains. So I don't want to see her die, but she is one of those prime candidates that would definitely break audiences' hearts, but it would, very impactfully progress the story and how the war progresses. So just throwing that out there as a side note. We also go into the power source. How is this thing being powered? How is the coffin flying and operating with, all this technology? Here we are. I guess this is I don't know what to call this room. The power engineering room. I don't know. This is the power source here. And we can see Denki is there. And he is one of four, by the way. One of four heroes, or I assume heroes, that are participating inside this ball of electricity that is charging the coffin in the sky. And we don't know who the other two heroes on the left are of that picture, but we do know the other one is, at least I think it's Comic Man from Class 1B. And like I said, I wanted to see more Class 1B involved in the war. And so we don't have that many shown as far as involvement, but Comic Man, who I totally did not expect to see, is one of the heroes involved. He is there with, helping. I don't know how he's helping necessarily. I don't know how his quirk necessarily works here, but he is helping out with the electricity, the electric issues here for the coffin. And of course, as we know, Monoma was using the quirk stolen from Kurogiri. So, I'm happy to see that Class 1B is getting some recognition and involvement. I wish we saw some of the other students, which we probably will. I've seen some spoiler manga snippets here and there online, and we will see some more Class 1B students involved as well. Don't know when. Probably in the next episode or so. Who knows? But we will see more. And I think it's only a few, but I'll take it. I'll take a few over none. And I'm happy to see that they are also being involved. And this is also a proud moment for Charge Bolt to finally use his quirk. No holding back. Just go all out and power the coffin. So I thought that was pretty amazing. So back inside though, Mirko, oh my god, she's back. She's able to show off and do her stuff again. Unfortunately, like I've mentioned in the last episode, she's lost an ear, she's lost an arm, she's lost a leg, and yet she's still just as powerful and formidable as before. So she immediately goes in and gives Tomura a good butt whooping, and he's not afraid, or she's not afraid of him or his quirks. And there's a reason why, and it's because of this guy. So as soon as he was done warping everybody, Phantom Thief comes over here, takes a seat in a nice little chair, and and he basically says, no more quirks for Tomura. He has made eye contact, and he is now making sure that Tomura cannot use his quirks thanks to the help of Eraserhead. So I do believe he's able to copy up to 3 quirks. I think it was, if not one at a time. I don't remember entirely, but he is copying Eraserhead's quirk, which erases all quirks as soon as they make eye contact, and as long as he doesn't blink, he can prevent them from using quirks. Hence the reason why Tomura's decay quirk isn't going to work and won't kill Mirko as she is beating him up. Manuel is also there, just like they did during the very beginning of the war. Manuel is helping Phantom Thief keep his eyes hydrated and open so that he can continue to use Eraserhead's quirk. And even though he is not necessarily at 100% capabilities, Eraserhead is there too. I don't know if that's going to help play a part in preventing Tomura to not be able to use his quirks. Like, for example, if one of them blinks, can the other still prevent Tomura from activating his quirks? I don't know. We'll see. You can clearly see on the screen that both of their eyes are glowing red. Their quirk is both activated at the same time. So who knows what that means, if they're both able to do it or not. We'll see. What else? He can't use their quirks. But then something else happens. And if you guys go back to the other episode, oh my god, I actually freaked out when I saw these things. And now we know what it is. Or we kind of know what it is. It isn't necessarily a quirk, I'm assuming. I don't know what to call it. Again, I don't read ahead in the manga. I just follow the anime. Mirko is falling. Obviously, they're still in mid-air. And Tomura is getting his butt whooped. But upon trying to, fight him in the air, Tomura pulls out this arm, and it suddenly starts to transform. Now, he is not able to use quirks right now because of Eraserhead's racing quirk. However, his whole arm starts to transform into that creepy monster thing we saw in the last episode that scared the shit out of Spinner. And because Mirko can't move in midair, she has no capability. She's all, physical combat. She is vulnerable to a hit. And as you guys see in the bottom left screen, this giant arm of freaking creepy fingers literally smashes into her and breaks up. We don't know the result. That's the end of the scene right there. We do see that her new arm was shattered to pieces. And as far as her being alive, I don't know. We don't know if she is alive or not, or just incapacitated. We don't know, because that's the last time we saw her in the episode. But she took a full blow in midair from Tomura. There's nothing she could have done. There's nothing anyone else could have done because no one saw it coming. And basically that's how the episode ended. And Tomura gets the last laugh, saying basically, I thought you were cool. to Eraserhead. Obviously, Eraserhead can't hear it, but he thought, I thought you were cool. And then he's basically give this nice, evil look to finish the episode. That was the very last scene we got to see in the episode. And I was like freaking out a little bit because I think to myself, those finger things are creepy. Like, what the heck is that? Like, that is gross as heck, right? Second, you just took out my favorite hero again. Like, literally, Mirko hardly got to do, anything to him. And all of a sudden, she could be dead or down and out entirely. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. My favorite hero is out again. Like, oh my god. So I'm hoping that even though she lost her arm again, hopefully she can still do something. She still has her other arm, maybe. I don't know. We don't know what condition she is in after that hit, but hopefully she's fine, because I really don't want to see her just down and out again. I want to see more of her, and I want to see, obviously, all the other heroes too. And like I said, there has to be deaths. Mirko's one of those characters that probably will die in the end. But what is this power that Tomura suddenly pulls out? Obviously, it's not a quirk, so the only thing I could really think is it's a body augmentation. As we know, the doctor, he did change basically Tomura's genetics a little bit so he can have all these quirks. We don't know going forward what's going to happen, but hopefully, it's something that will be explained going into the next episode. It has to be explained, because now we've seen it through 2 episodes, and now it's made an impact. We need to see and hear how did this happen? What is this? Is it not a quirk, or is it a quirk? Is it a body augmentation that he's able to do now? We need to know what it is. So I don't care if you have to do a flashback for like 5 minutes. You gotta tell me what it is. I want to know, because it's creepy as heck, and it just took out my favorite hero. So that's how the episode ended, and now I can't wait for the next episode. I was very excited for the next, for this episode last week, and now I'm excited for the next. I hate waiting, but yeah, that's the fate we have to wait for. But yeah, as far as the episode itself, as far as a rating, I'll give this one a 9. I'll give this one a solid 9 out of 10. It was a great episode. It was awesome. I enjoyed it from start to finish. I was expecting flashbacks. I was expecting exposition. That's fine. But the action was well spread out, as well as well done. Again, except for that one scene, the animation's perfect again. I loved it. Got to see all kinds of heroes. Even if they didn't talk, you got to see all kinds of heroes being involved. And hopefully that's not all of them. We get to see more, hopefully, going forward. Like I said, I want to see more Class 1B. I want to see Class 1A involved in all the fights as well. And again, I want to see some hardships, deaths, injuries. I want to see all this going forward and see how all these fights play out. So if the action continues in the next episode, I think we'll have another solid 9 or 10 out of 10 ratings going for the next few episodes, if not the rest of the season. Obviously, to start the season, it starts off a little bit slower, but for sure, it should start to ramp up as this season goes along. Again, I don't know how many episodes are going to be in the season. I don't look ahead into this stuff. I just want to take it episode by episode, and when it ends, it ends. That's when I'll see it. But yeah, solid 9 out of 10 for this episode. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was so short because I enjoyed it so much, just like the last one. So hopefully my patience is worth it in the next episode as well. I want to see what happens to Mirko. Don't go away, right? Please don't just change battles and then ignore what happened here. Continue what happened in this battle. Continue with Tomura. Show what happens to Mirko, and then you can go on to shows what happens to Deku, because he was supposed to be there. So what is he doing, right? I don't want to see too many battles all at once. So you can basically focus on Tomura and Deku. Show those 2 locations next episode. And then maybe you can switch it out. Show All For One and Dabi in the next episode, and then back and forth. I don't mind if it's like that. Just don't do all 4 battles, or how many locations were there in that picture? 1, 2, 3. There's 8. There's 8 locations. So don't show all 8 locations in one episode. Just focus on a couple at a time. And, if you have to take it episode by episode and you have to say, oh, hey, at the same time as this battle, this is happening, that's fine by me. Because at least I know it's all happening at the exact same time and not continuous timeline. So that for all I know, Tomo's going to finish his fight here. And what is that? 20 minutes of a fight. And then all of a sudden he warps out somehow and then shows up with All For One. And their battle hasn't even started. That doesn't make sense, right? So don't do it like that. Just focus on a couple battles at a time. And, make it worthwhile. I want to see a lot of good action. I want to see a lot of good dialogue. I want to see all the heroes get involved. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I did, for sure. If you did, hit the like button. Comment down below what you guys thought. And, of course, subscribe to the channel for more content, as well as to keep up with my reviews for every episode. Yeah, going forward, I'm just really excited. I can't wait for the next episode. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. That's all my thoughts, at least on the episode. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. And again, one more time, hero of the episode, obviously for obvious reasons, he not only warp gated all the heroes and villains, but he also helped Eraserhead's quirk work magic again, kind of. And then obviously, of course, second hero of the episode, just because he needs a little bit more recognition. Again, it wasn't necessarily Aoyama that got the job done. It was Shinso's quirk that was able to brainwash and fool All For One. And again, everyone involved obviously gets credit, but Shinso definitely deserved a little bit of credit. So for sure, second hero of the episode, just because I want to give him a little bit of support there. Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. So hope you guys have a great day, have a great week, and I will see you guys for the next episode. Bye bye.